The Zephyrian High Council gathered aboard the Vorazeth, a colossal crystal flagship that glittered like a shard of frozen starlight. The great chamber stretched endlessly, its walls made of towering crystalline pillars that pulsed softly with an eerie blue glow. Light bent and fractured through the crystals, scattering kaleidoscopic patterns across the polished floor. Above them, a massive holographic star map shimmered in midair. It displayed the Milky Way in breathtaking detail. The swirling arms of the galaxy spun slowly, as if the stars themselves were being rearranged by unseen hands. Earth hung there, a lonely blue dot nestled in the Orion arm. To the Zephyrians it was nothing more than a dim speck on the galactic map. A primitive world unworthy of true attention. Commander Vrax stood at the center of the chamber, his sleek black exosuit gleaming under the crystal light. His eyes, sharp and cold, studied the hologram with disdain. "Look at it," Vrax sneered, voice echoing against the crystalline walls. "A backwater planet, slow creatures barely evolved. Their technology is laughable, still fumbling with chemical engines and basic city grids. They are weak." Counselor Zyra, a lithe Zephyrian with translucent skin that reflected the chamber's light, nodded. "Their defenses are minimal. Our scouts report no significant fleets orbiting Earth. We shall crush them with ease." The chamber hummed as dozens of Zephyrian warships assembled in orbit above Earth. Sleek and deadly, the ships shimmered with crackling blue energy. Their hulls were smooth facets of dark crystal, like giant shards of night sky. They moved in perfect formation, like deadly predators circling prey. Brack's voice grew colder still. "These humans will fall before us like so many others. Their precious planet holds valuable resources, rare minerals, fertile lands. The Zephyrian Empire will claim Earth and its moons." A young officer approached, bowing respectfully. "Commander Vrax, all fleets stand ready. The invasion fleet is assembled and awaiting your command." Vrax turned, his piercing gaze sweeping the chamber. "Excellent! Begin the orbital bombardment. Break their communications. Let their leaders know the might of the Zephyrian Empire." Earth will kneel. Council leader Threx, a towering figure whose crystalline armor sparkled with embedded gemstones, raised a hand. "Patience, Commander. Remember the old warnings. The humans have legends of fierce resistance. They say humanity fights with fire in their souls." Vrax snorted. "Legends are for children and fools. We have technology that bends space and time. What can these fire souls do against us?" The chamber's light shifted as more holograms flickered into view, images of human cities from distant scans. Tall towers glowed faintly, lit by electric lights. Vehicles crawled along paved roads. The humans appeared fragile, their cities sprawling but rudimentary. Zyra tapped the hologram. "Primitive, yet populous. Still, they lack the unity and advanced weapons we wield." Vrax clenched a fist. "Then we shall teach them unity under the boot of the Zephyrian Empire." Suddenly, the chamber's atmosphere grew tense. A shadowed figure stepped forward from the council's edge. Elder Vorak Kaeln, ancient and weathered, his crystalline robe shimmering with deep purple runes, addressed the council. "Commander Vrax, counselors, I urge caution. I have studied these humans for decades. They are not the simple creatures you see. Long ago they rose from chaos and defeat. They fought enemies stronger and more numerous. Their cunning and will are unmatched." The chamber fell silent. Vrax's jaw tightened. "Old tales do not frighten me, Kaeln. We have the Vorazeth, the greatest ship in the quadrant. Our fleets outnumber theirs 10-1. They will break." Kaeln's voice was a low rumble. "Beware the fire in their souls. It burns hotter than you imagine." Vrax waved him off impatiently. "Enough. Prepare the final assault. Earth is ripe for the taking." Outside the council chamber, the Vorazeth's crystal hull shimmered against the backdrop of stars. Through its massive observation windows, Earth's blue and green surface rotated slowly. Storms swirled over oceans. Cities sparkled faintly in the darkness. The Zephyrian fleet gathered like a storm, ready to descend. Vrax looked out at the fragile world. "Let them see the might of the Zephyrian Empire. Let them learn what it means to face us." The crystal pillars hummed as the command was transmitted. The invasion had begun, but far away, unseen and underestimated, humanity prepared for war. The ancient warnings lingered in the air like a shadow. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Deep within the shadowed core of the Vorak homeworld, the ancient temple of Oathkar loomed like a jagged mountain carved from black stone. The air was thick with incense, glowing softly with bioluminescent runes that pulsed in time with the whispered voices of the old. Vast star charts sprawled across crystalline walls, mapping galaxies and forgotten worlds. Inside this temple, the Zephyrian delegation gathered nervously. Their sleek blue scales shimmered under the faint light as they listened to the Vorak elders. The elder known as Zegzelthar, a wizened figure draped in heavy ceremonial robes etched with silver filigree, stepped forward. His eyes burned with an ancient fire that had seen the rise and fall of empires. "You would do well to remember the tales of humanity," Zelthar said, his deep voice echoing in the cavernous hall. "They are not the weak creatures you dismiss." The Zephyrian commander Vrock sneered. His many eyes blinked in contempt. "Primitive," he spat. "Slow. Unremarkable. Their cities are stone and metal, their ships little more than toys. Our sensors show no advanced technology, no weapons to threaten us." Exelthar's gaze hardened. "You underestimate the fire within them. Long ago, their ancestors were hunted and crushed by stronger alien forces, but they fought back with fierce cunning and ferocity unseen in this quadrant." He gestured toward a massive star chart etched with red lines and symbols. "They survived wars that shattered planets. They adapted when others perished." The Zephyrian scientist Crixil leaned forward, scanning holographic images of Earth's cities, blue oceans dotted with islands, sprawling continents with glowing grids of civilization. "Their technology is basic by our standards. Their warships lack energy shields strong enough to withstand our plasma torpedoes. Yet," Zelthar intoned, "there are records, ancient transmissions intercepted, of humans destroying foes far more advanced than your fleet. Their tactics are unpredictable, their resilience legendary." Crixil frowned. "Those are myths, folklore from a forgotten war. They have no fleets to challenge us now. Their science lags behind." From the shadows, another elder, Sarneth, spoke with a gravelly tone. "I have seen human warriors in battle simulations. They fight like demons with fire in their souls. Their minds are sharp, but their spirit unstoppable. Underestimate them, and you doom yourselves." Vrax laughed coldly. "Spirits? These are words for the weak. Technology is power. We have the Vorazeth, the mightiest warship in this armada. Our crystal cannons can rend moons in half." "Earth will fall before the dawn." The room darkened as holograms shifted. Images of Zephyrian warships assembled in orbit, shimmering with blue energy, flashed beside Earth's tiny blue dot. The contrast was stark. Zelthar's voice dropped to a warning. "Beware! The humans are patient hunters. They hide their strength beneath a veil of simplicity. Their slow pace fools many, but their legacy is one of survival against impossible odds." The Zephyrian envoy exchanged uneasy glances. Vrax's pride masked his doubt, but a flicker of concern crossed his many eyes. "We will strike swiftly. We will claim their resources and crush their pathetic resistance. The galaxy belongs to the strong." Sarneth's voice was a low growl. "The strong do not always win. Remember the lessons written in the stars. The humans will not bow, they will burn." The chamber fell silent, but for the crackling hum of energy fields. The ancient warnings lingered like a shadow over the gleaming Zephyrian fleet. Outside, in the dark expanse of space, the Vorazeth's great crystal hull reflected distant stars like a shard of frozen lightning. The Zephyrian warships gathered, ready to descend on an unsuspecting Earth, but deep within the ancient temple, the elders' voices whispered still, threading through time and space, a chorus of caution against underestimating the humans. The clash was coming. The Zephyrians believed it was a simple conquest. They called the humans primitive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. End of Section 2. Next, the UESN Defiance prepares for routine patrol, unaware the storm is already coming. The UESN Defiance cut through Earth's orbit like a silver arrow. Its sleek hull gleamed under the glow of the distant sun. Deep blue oceans and swirling white clouds stretched beneath it. The vibrant greens of forests and grays of sprawling cities told a story. This was home. Earth, inside the ship's bridge, the air buzzed with quiet urgency. Captain Ryan Blake stood tall, eyes fixed on the holographic star map hovering before him. His sharp uniform reflected the pale blue light. His jaw was set, calm but ready. Beside him, Jake Morrison leaned back in his pilot's chair. He was the kind of guy who smiled too much for a soldier, but that grin never hid the fire in his eyes. His flight jacket was worn, edges frayed from countless missions. He tapped a console with practiced ease, checking his fighter's readiness. "Morning, Captain," Jake said, voice casual but confident. "Looks like a quiet day for the Defiance." Blake gave a small nod, but didn't lower his guard. "Quiet doesn't last long anymore. We've seen the rumors. The Zepyrians are out there." Jake shrugged. "Rumors, yeah, but those blue crystal freaks? They probably think Earth's a sandbox full of slow kids." Lisa Hayes, the ship's lead engineer, joined them. She was bent over a console, fingers flying across controls. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, glasses perched on her nose. She looked up, tired but sharp. "Sandboxes don't build warships like this," Lisa said, voice steady. "And they don't repair them like we do. The Defiance is proof. We might be rebuilding, but we're not helpless." Blake smiled slightly. "Good, because if those Zepyrian fleets come knocking, we'll need every edge." The bridge was a hive of activity. Crew members moved smoothly between glowing consoles. Screens displayed real-time data from Earth's surface, satellites, and distant colonies. The stars outside twinkled cold and distant, but humanity's presence was bright and alive. Jake stood and stretched, then leaned toward the viewport. Below, Earth spun in silent majesty. City lights flickered like a network of veins. The great oceans whispered secrets to the night. This was more than a planet. It was their home, their fight. Suddenly, a young communications officer called out, "Captain, routine patrol scan complete." No unusual activity detected. Blake's eyes narrowed. "Keep scanning. I want updates every 5 minutes. If the Zepyrians show up, we catch them early." Lisa shook her head, half amused. "Sometimes I think we're the only sane ones in this system." Jake laughed. "That's why they put us in space, huh? To keep an eye on the crazies. The UESN Defiance was one of Earth's best, fast, agile, and armed with cutting-edge plasma turrets. But it was more than metal and tech. It was a symbol, a beacon of humanity's will to survive." Captain Blake walked to the main console. His fingers hovered over the controls, ready to issue orders. "Jake, prep your fighter for patrol. I want you watching the outer colonies, Mars, Luna. They're vulnerable." Jake grinned. "You got it, Captain. He'll keep those rocks safe." Lisa stood nearby, pulling up diagnostics. "He'll monitor your systems. If anything goes wrong, you'll be the first to know." Outside the ship, the view shifted. The red dust storms of Mars swirled below, and the gray, cratered surface of Luna gleamed faintly. Human colonies dotted the barren landscapes, mining stations, research hubs, small settlements struggling to thrive. Back on the Defiance, the crew moved like clockwork. The tension was quiet but palpable. They had lived through Earth's wars, watched their world rebuild from ashes. They had fought brutal battles on alien frontiers, but nothing was routine anymore. "We're ready," Jake said, strapping into his fighter's cockpit. His voice came through the ship's comms, steady and sure. "Good," Blake replied, "because the galaxy isn't waiting." "Neither are we." Lisa's eyes flashed with determination. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." The UESN Defiance glided toward the hangar bay. Jake's fighter sat waiting, a sleek black craft, sharp wings catching reflected light. The engines hummed, eager to roar. As Jake's fighter launched, the ship's hull vibrated with the power of the thrusters. The stars stretched into thin lines as he jumped into faster speed. Captain Blake returned to the bridge. He looked out once more at Earth, blue and fragile. The calm before the storm. "Keep your eyes open," he said softly, "because they're coming." The crew settled into their stations. The Defiance was ready, Earth was watching, and humanity would not bow. The first signs of the Zepyrian assault were still unseen, but the storm was gathering. The war for Earth was about to begin. The peace shattered in an instant. Red dust rose over the Martian horizon as Zepyrian warships struck without warning. The first wave came swift and deadly. Massive Zepyrian cruisers hovered above Mars like storm clouds, their sleek hulls shimmering with harsh blue energy. They unleashed torrents of crackling plasma, slicing through human orbital defenses. Explosions blossomed in the thin Martian atmosphere, casting eerie glows across the rust-colored deserts below. On the surface, the Martian colony's fragile domes cracked and shattered under relentless fire. Alarms screamed in every colony, panic flooding through the comms. "Report! Shields failing on Colony Delta!" A frantic voice crackled in the UESN Atlantica's command center. Captain Ryan Blake leaned forward, eyes sharp. His jaw clenched beneath the dim red alert lighting. "We can't hold them off with current resources," he muttered. "Call for reinforcements. Prioritize civilian evacuations." Jake Morrison, hotshot pilot and ace flyer, gripped the controls of his fighter stationed in the Atlantica's hangar bay. His ship gleamed under the cold lights, sleek, battle-worn. "Looks like the party just started," Jake said, grinning despite the tension. "Let's give these blue freaks a warm welcome." Outside, the Zephyrian energy beams cut through human shield arrays. The Atlantica rocked as plasma bolts slammed into its hull. "Shields down to 30%, Engineer Lisa Hayes reported, her fingers flying over the console. "Hull breach in Sector 4. The ship jolted violently, shaking crew members off balance. "Brace for impact," Blake barked. Jake's fighter launched into the chaos, weaving through a deadly hailstorm of laser fire and missile trails. His HUD lit up with targets, Zephyrian interceptors closing fast. He barrel-rolled, narrowly dodging a plasma blast that scorched the side of his cockpit. "Zephyrian fighters, 02 o'clock," Jake called out. "Engaging." His ship's twin pulse cannons spat fierce bolts of energy. Enemy fighters exploded in fiery bursts, but there were too many. The Zephyrian assault was relentless. On the moon, human colonies faced similar devastation. Domes shattered under precise Zephyrian strikes. Human defenders scrambled to mount a defense, but Zephyrian technology was on another level. Their ships moved with eerie grace, their weapons cutting through human shields like knives through paper. Back on the Atlantica, panic was spreading. "Commander, we've lost contact with the Lunan Defense Fleet," a communications officer announced, voice trembling. Blake gritted his teeth. "Maintain formation. Hold the line." But the Zephyrians pressed their advantage. Bright energy beams snaked through space, striking at vulnerable human ships. Explosions bloomed like deadly stars as vessels erupted in fireballs. Jake's fighter was hit. A searing shockwave rocked his cockpit. "Warning! Hull integrity compromised," the onboard AI screamed. He fought to keep control as systems failed one by one. The ground rushed up fast, crash landing on a barren moon crater. Jake ejected just before impact. He tumbled through dust and rock, pain searing through his body. "Damn it," he muttered, pulling himself to his feet beneath a blood-red sky. Behind him, the wreckage smoldered. The distant stars were the only witnesses to his fall. On the Atlantica, Captain Blake stared out at the battlefield. Human ships were battered, retreating from superior Zephyrian firepower. "Damage report," he demanded. "Critical on all fronts," Lisa said grimly. "We're outgunned and outnumbered. Our fleet isn't enough." Blake slammed his fist on the console. "Then we fight smarter. We survive." A sudden transmission pinged the comms, distorted but clear. The Zephyrian commander Vrak's mocking voice echoed. "Humans, your resistance is futile. Your world will fall. Prepare to surrender your primitive home." Blake's eyes burned with defiance. "We don't surrender," he said, voice low and hard. "We survive! On noble!" he said, voice low and hard. Zephyrian energy beams lit the void like deadly lightning. Human missiles streaked through space, exploding against alien hulls. But every victory was costly. The UESN Atlantica groaned, systems failing, fires raging in the corridors. Crew members braced themselves for the worst. In the shadow of destruction, hope flickered. Jake Morrison, battered and alone, stared up at the stars. He clenched his fists. "We may be outmatched," he whispered, "but we're not done yet. The war for Earth had begun." And humanity was about to show its true strength. Fiery explosions rippling over the red Martian sky, plasma bolts slicing through thin atmosphere, Zephyrian cruisers glowing with blue energy, their sleek hulls hovering ominously above Mars. UESN Atlantica, battle-scarred, shaking under plasma fire with glowing damage reports on its surface. Jake Morrison's fighter dodging enemy fire amid a chaotic starfield, lasers streaking past. A barren moon crater under a blood-red sky, with the smoking wreckage of Jake's downed fighter. Human crew in sharp uniforms, faces tense under red alert lights on the Atlantica's bridge. Energy beams crack. The scene is set for humanity's desperate fight, outgunned, battered, but far from broken. The next move belongs to the humans. The asteroid belt was dark, cold, silent. A shadow moved between the jagged rocks and swirling dust. It was massive, bigger than any ship in the Zephyrian fleet. Its hull gleamed with polished steel and black armor plates, shaped like a war-hardened beast. This was the resolute Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the looming silhouette on the view screen. Around him, the bridge crew worked in tense, precise silence. The UESN Defiance had led the ragged defense so far, but now, the future of humanity rested on one secret, the dreadnought hidden away for decades deep among the asteroids. Lisa Hayes, the ship's lead engineer, stepped forward. Her fingers danced over a holo display, flickering with blueprints and data streams. "We've kept her off all scanners," she said, voice steady but urgent. "Experimental reactors running at full capacity, new railguns firing magnetic slugs at hypersonic speeds, and—" "Wait until you see the AI integration," Blake nodded. "Show me." Lisa tapped the console. The view screen shifted, zooming in on the dreadnought's broadside. Rows of turrets flashed awake, their barrels gleaming beneath armored shields. Hidden missile silos opened like the maw of a beast ready to devour. "The Resolute isn't just a ship," Lisa said with quiet pride. "She's a fortress, a weapon, and the first of many." The crew around them exchanged looks. The memory of recent defeats burned fresh in their minds. The Zephyrians had crushed colonies on Mars and Luna. Their energy beams sliced through human shields like paper. But now, this ship was their trump card. Blake's jaw clenched. "Ready the experimental weapons. I want all systems green before we engage." Lisa's eyes lit up. Already at 98%, the quantum AI core just came online. The Resolute's AI was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. It learned, adapted, predicted enemy moves with terrifying speed. It was the product of decades of secret research hidden from even the most advanced alien scanners. Outside, the asteroid belt stretched wide, a tangled graveyard of rock and ice. The Resolute glided silently through it, giant engines humming low. Bright thrusters flared as it adjusted course, positioning itself to intercept the Zephyrian fleet. Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the comm. "Captain, patched in from the Defiance. What's the plan?" Blake smiled grimly. "We turn the tide. The Resolute goes first. Support her with everything you've got." The bridge erupted into action. Tactical officers plotted attack runs. Engineers monitored weapon arrays. Every hand was steady, every eye focused. Suddenly, the Resolute emerged fully from the asteroid shadows. Her size alone was a shock. Longer than 3 battleships, wider than a city block. Her black armor shimmered under distant starlight. Turrets swiveled, energy coils charging with a low, ominous hum. Lisa pointed.
"That's our new railgun battery ready to fire."
"It can punch through Zephyrian shields like they're made of glass." Blake nodded. "Let's give them a show." The Resolute surged forward. Outside the view screen, the Zephyrian fleet appeared, sleek, blue-hued warships glinting with alien tech. They formed a wedge, confident, prepared to crush any human resistance. But they didn't know the beast waiting for them. The Resolute's weapon systems flared. A massive railgun barrel roared, launching a glowing magnetic slug that streaked through space with deadly speed. The first Zephyrian cruiser didn't stand a chance. The shot tore through its shields, ripping the hull apart in a brilliant explosion. Debris showered the void. Lisa's fingers flew. Activating AI targeting swarm, deploying autonomous drones for hacking and sabotage. Tiny drones swarmed toward the enemy ships, invisible and deadly. They slipped past shields, burrowing into systems, flipping switches, and turning enemy weapons against their own fleet. Blake's voice was steady, fierce. "This is what happens when you think we're weak, when you think Earth is primitive." Around him, the crew cheered quietly, ready for the fight of their lives. Lisa's screen flashed urgent warnings. "Incoming Zephyrian countermeasures. They're scrambling electronic warfare signals." Blake's eyes narrowed. "Let them try." "Our AI is faster." The Resolute released a pulse of electromagnetic energy that disabled several enemy ships targeting arrays. The Zephyrian fleet faltered. Jake's voice came through again. "Captain, the Defiance and Atlantica are regrouping. We can join the fight shortly." Blake smiled grimly, fists clenched. "Good. The Resolute will hold the line until then." A sudden alert blared. Lisa leaned over her console, fingers flying. "Captain, the railguns have a secondary mode. It fires a volley of hyperdense slugs in rapid succession." Blake stared at the screen. "Show me." On the view screen, multiple glowing projectiles streaked toward the enemy fleet like falling stars. One by one, Zephyrian vessels erupted in fiery bursts. The Zephyrians had expected a weak, simple race, a primitive planet ripe for conquest. They had no idea humanity had built the Resolute, a war machine born from desperation, forged in secret, and ready to shatter their arrogance. Blake turned to his crew. "This is only the beginning. Get ready for full engagement." Lisa's eyes sparkled with determination. "They thought we slept. They were wrong." Outside, the Resolute charged at the enemy fleet, a massive shadow of human defiance cutting through the stars. The war had just begun, but now humanity held a secret that would change everything. And the Zephyrians would soon learn why Earth was not so primitive after all. Red emergency lights bathed the bridge of the UESN Defiance in an ominous crimson glow. The hum of the ship's engines thrummed low beneath the tense silence. Captain Ryan Blake stood in the center, shoulders squared, eyes sharp and unblinking. Around him, the crew worked with fierce focus, their faces lit by the cold blue of their holographic consoles. Outside the thick viewports, the black void of space was lit by distant stars and the pale, shining orb of Earth hanging like a jewel. But in that same darkness, the Zephyrian fleet, vast, shimmering with blue energy, loomed like an advancing storm. Blake's voice cut through the bridge, steady and calm, carrying the weight of every soul aboard. "Prepare to broadcast." Lisa Hayes, the ship's chief engineer, tapped commands into a holographic panel. The transmission array on the Defiance powered up, a deep resonant hum filling the air. Red lights blinked faster. The ship's massive external antenna rotated smoothly, aiming toward the distant coordinates of the Zephyrian High Council flagship Vorazeth. Jake Morrison, standing near the comm station, glanced at Blake. "You really want to do this? Blast a message right to their throne room?" Blake smiled grimly. "They need to hear it, every word." Lisa's fingers danced over controls, stabilizing the signal. The bridge fell silent except for the crackling of the transmission and the faint beeping of incoming data. Then Blake stepped forward, the holographic displays faded away, and all eyes fixed on him. His voice boomed, clear and commanding, a challenge cast across the void at the arrogant Zephyrian rulers. "To the Zephyrian High Council, and all who sail under your banners," Blake began, his tone sharp as a blade. "You have come here expecting an easy conquest. You looked down on Earth. You called us primitive, weak, slow." He paused, his eyes scanned the bridge, finding the faces of his crew, steadfast, determined. They were not just fighting for their lives, they were fighting for humanity's honor. "We are no savages, no backwater tribe. We are the descendants of stars, builders of worlds, defenders of freedom. You see our cities from orbit and think us simple. You see our ships and think us fragile." The image of Earth filled the main viewport, oceans glistening, continents vast and alive. Lightning storms crackled in distant clouds. Cities buzzed with faint glows of life below. Blake stepped closer to the comm station, voice rising with righteous fury. "Because while you were watching, we were preparing. While you were underestimating us, we built a fleet unlike any you faced. We forged weapons that sing with the fury of suns. We trained warriors who fight with fire in their souls." He leaned forward, voice like thunder, echoing through the silence of space. "We are not the weak prey you imagined. We are the storm you failed to see coming, the fire you cannot extinguish." Lisa Hayes tapped her controls. On the display, the silhouette of the Resolute appeared, massive and terrifying. Its turrets gleamed with deadly promise. The dreadnought was a symbol of humanity's hidden might. Blake's voice softened, laced with cold warning. "The Resolute and her sister ships now stand ready. We will defend our homeworld, our colonies, and our future. Your fleets will break, your ships will burn, your arrogance will be your undoing." The bridge grew darker as the red alert lights pulsed faster. Jake's jaw clenched, gripping the console. "Captain, they're still listening." Blake's eyes narrowed, burning with fierce pride. "Good. Then let them hear this." He raised his voice, echoing across the void. "You came to take what you thought was easy prey. You came to take what you thought was easy prey. You will learn what it means to fight a human." The message looped, the broadcast cutting through the Zephyrian fleet's communication channels. On the distant Vorazeth, Zephyrian leaders froze, faces pale beneath their crystalline helmets. Commander Vrak's smirk vanished. The room fell cold with shock. Back on the Defiance, the crew exchanged grim looks. The moment had come. There was no turning back. Captain Blake turned from the viewport, voice steady, voice clear, voice filled with defiance. "Prepare to engage. The real battle begins now." Lisa quickly secured the comms array. Jake powered up his fighter systems, muscles tense, ready to strike. Outside, the stars waited. The war for Earth had truly begun. And humanity was ready. The crimson-lit bridge of the UESN Defiance, with Captain Blake standing resolute amid glowing holographic consoles and alert crew. The massive external antenna of the Defiance rotating against the star-studded void, targeting the distant Zephyrian flagship Vorazeth. The holographic Earth filling the viewport, lightning flashing, cities glowing faintly beneath swirling clouds. The silhouette of the colossal Resolute dreadnought emerging from asteroid shadows, weapons gleaming and ready to unleash fury. Captain Blake delivering his fiery broadcast, eyes blazing with determination as red alert lights pulsed dramatically. The broadcast echoed through space, a promise of pain and fury. The Zephyrians had misjudged Earth. Now they would pay the price. The Resolute emerged from the shadows of the asteroid belt like a beast awakened. Its massive hull gleamed under distant starlight, turrets bristling like the spines of a war dragon. The ship's engines flared, casting eerie glows on nearby rocks as it surged forward. Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the holographic display flickering with enemy positions. "All hands, prepare for full engagement," Blake's voice cut through the tense air. "This fight ends today." Around him, the crew snapped into action. Engineers tapped consoles, gun crews locked onto targets, tactical officers adjusted shields and weapons. The Resolute was no ordinary warship. It was humanity's secret, a dreadnought designed to turn the tide. Across the void, the Zephyrian fleet shimmered in formation, a glittering swarm of sleek blue energy hulls. Their flagship, the Vorazeth, pulsed ominously at the center. The aliens had been confident, cocky even. Now, that confidence would shatter. Jake Morrison gripped his fighter's controls tight. The Starhawk cut through space with nimble precision, weaving through ion blasts and exploding debris. The Martian battlefield had been lost, but here, in this chaotic maelstrom, Jake found new purpose. "Target locked on Vorazeth," Jake muttered under his breath, voice steady despite pounding adrenaline. His fighters zipped past battered human frigates, dodging Zephyrian energy beams that hissed like angry serpents. Ahead, the Vorazeth's shields flared bright blue, absorbing wave after wave of attacks. Lisa Hyas' fingers danced over the hollow keyboard in the Resolute's command center. Her eyes burned with focus. Lines of code scrolled rapidly as she hacked into the Zephyrian fleet's communication network. "Captain," she said without looking up, "I'm inside their comms. I can scramble their fleet coordination and send false orders." Blake grinned. "Do it, Lisa." "Let's turn their own weapons against them." The bridge trembled as the first shots from the Resolute's experimental plasma cannons fired. Brilliant bolts tore through space, ripping apart a Zephyrian destroyer. The ship burst in fiery shards, its blue energy flickering and dying. On the hacked comms, confusion erupted. "Hold formation! Attack left flank!" Orders bounced back and forth, contradicting one another. The Zephyrian captains scrambled to make sense of the madness. Jake seized the opportunity. He pushed his fighter to the limit, dodging spiraling debris and enemy fire.